Are you looking for a 2000 watt subwoofer amplifier and you've been considering SKAR audio? Well, you might want to stick around and watch this. $2,000-watt Class D monoblock amplifiers for subwoofers have been extremely popular over the past few years because these amps provide all of the power most people need. We have several different brands. We've seen SKAR Audio, also CT Sounds, Down for Sound. They all have amps in the range from around $250 to about $300. But we came across this Double Rock. Who in the heck is that? $166 on Amazon. We got to check this thing out. Here we have the Double Rock DR2000.1. Let's get it unboxed. You can see it has a nice looking retail box, which is interesting because as far as I know, this is only sold on Amazon right now. They do have several different models. This is kind of the top end model for subwoofers. See, we got some things in the box here. Very nice. Look at this. Even have their own little packaging. First off, you can see we get a couple of Allen's keys to tighten up the terminals. We get a 3.5 millimeter extension cable and a bass knob. Now, what's really interesting about this bass knob, other than, of course, it being aluminum at this price, but the way that the knob turns, look at it. If you flip it over the right way, you're actually turning it to the left to go from minimum to maximum. So if you have it upside down, it turns the correct way. It's very odd. Owner's manual covers several different of their models. You can see here, it shows you wiring, shows you features with crossovers, etc. And here is the amplifier. It does look similar to a different amp we're going to show here in a minute, but not exactly the same. The Double Rock logo looks kind of cool. I think it looks like Dick Ricolas. But here is the SKAR RP2000.1. You can see it looks similar, but again, not exact. Here on one end, you will see that we have Power Protect LEDs, the remote connection for 3.5 millimeter for the bass knob, and standard RC aids. Also, we have a gain control, bass EQ from 0 to 12 dB, low pass filter 220 Hz down to 50 Hz, also a subsonic, which is variable up to 50 Hz. When we flip the amplifier around, you can see it has some big old beefy power terminals. Also has double outputs. This is a monoblock, so the negatives are wired together, positives are wired together, around 10 gauge there for speaker outputs. And then we have the 1/0 or 0 gauge oversize for connecting the power and ground, and also the remote connection. And again, overlooking the amplifier here, not a bad looking amp. As far as dimensions go, 19 inches on the length, that's from RCAs all the way to the end of the terminals, 6 inches for the width, 2.1 inches for the height. Manual states 4 ohms 800 watts, 2 ohms 1500 watts, and 1 ohm 2000 watts. No voltage or THD is specified. Now let's get the amplifier all connected up and fire up the amplifier dyno so we can test the output of the amplifier. If you haven't seen these tests, on the left, RMS power output in watts, in the middle, the ohm load, on the right, the voltage. We'll also have the remote display so we can see the efficiency of the amplifier.
This here's my favorite part.
First up, we'll try 4 ohms. Amplifier is rated 800 watts. Again, no voltage specified. This load simulates a single 2 ohm dual voice coil subwoofer wired in series, or 2 4 ohm dual voice coil subwoofers wired in series parallel will also give you the 4 ohm that we're going to see here. Here we go. Certified test first to 1% distortion, rated 800 watts, and we get, oh yeah, 836. Voltage just a little bit strong at 14.62. That will come down in extended test here that we're going to do. Uncertified up to clipping point of the amplifier. Should be a little bit more, and it is. Keeps going up. 856 at 14.5 volts. Now let's do the dynamic test, which sends a 40 hertz pulse tone into the amp, kind of testing the dynamic capability of the power supply. 866, 14.64. Now let's check the efficiency. We measured around 74% efficient at 4 ohm, which is not great, but it's okay. Next up, 2 ohms rated 1500 watts. Again, no voltage specified. A single 4 ohm dual voice coil subwoofer wired in parallel, or 2 2 ohm dual voice coil subwoofers wired in series parallel will give you the 2 ohm load. Let's see what we get here. Rated 1500 watts. Certified test first to 1% total harmonic distortion. Can we get 1500? Not quite. 1459 at 14.47. That's statistically close enough, but let's see if it gets it to clipping, because in these real budget amplifiers, I mean, this is what you guys are looking for anyway, so can we get the 1500? Yes, we do. 1533 at 14.32 volts. So wow, color me impressed for this amp being as cheap as it is. Dynamic, send the dynamic pulse into the amp. And yes, 1565, and look at our voltage right at 14.44. Now let's check the efficiency. Of course, it's going to drop a little more, around 71% at 2 ohms. Next up, we'll do the 1 ohm test, which rated 2000 watts. Check the link in the video description. I'll leave you to a subwoofer calculator so you can calculate your impedance based on how you have your subs wired. Here we go. Yes, and we get that 2000, 2313, right at 14.4.
Shazam!
Wow. For a $167 amp. That's crazy. Uncertified up to clipping. Look at that. We're almost 2,500 watts. 2488. 14.2. What about dynamically? Can we bust 2,500? Oh, yes. Oh, man. We're over, 2,800? Right at it. 2791. 2827. Yo. Nothing to write home about efficiency-wise. 64% we measured at 1 ohm. Now, as far as the results, you can pause this if you want to see it. We just showed you all these tests for 2 and 1 ohm and the resulting numbers, also the efficiencies. If you do want to see us try it below 1 ohm, you have to stick around to the very end of the video because we will show lower ohm test. Now, let's find out what's inside of this Class D amplifier. Now, these amps are most likely made by the same OEM that makes SKAR Audio, which is called Future Sound of China, or China Future Sound. And this is just some video from their website showing how their amplifiers are made, the automated process, and most of the components being put on the amplifier, that type thing. So what I'm getting at is, if you're looking at buying a SKAR Audio amplifier, then this is pretty much exactly the same. So why would you spend money for the name brand of SKAR? Well, there are some reasons, and I will get to that later in the video. Now let's flip the amplifier over, take off the 8 Phillips screws on the bottom of the amp so we can see what's inside. Pull the panel off, and here we go. 2000 watt Korean design amplifier made in China. You can see not a whole lot going on here, any different than a lot of the other budget amps. Samyang 105 degrees Celsius caps there, 25 volt, 2200 microfarad on the power supply side. The rail voltage, 100 volt, 3300 microfarad, again, 105 degrees Celsius. Somebody's working near Christmas to make this amp. And we look at the differences here, you can see the DR has a little bit more on the input side, but it does have the same number of output chokes. Also the same number of rail capacitors, same voltage. Also, both have 4 transformers for the power supply, although it does look like the SKAR is wired a little bit nicer internally. Now let's talk about pros and cons. First up, inexpensive, amazing watt per dollar. The bass knob is included. Does have a variable subsonic, which is crazy, an amp this cheap. 24 dB per octave crossover on the low pass. It does include a bass remote, which is impressive. It has double outputs, even though it's a monoblock amp. Is it low ohm stable? You got to stick around to the end to find out. Things that could be better. It is a generic design and a clone of the SKAR Audio. Availability, I don't know. It was hard for me to get one of these in because they kept going in and out of stock. Warranty is iffy on an amplifier like this. If you get it from Amazon, you have 30 days from Amazon. After that, good luck. Is it worth going cheap? We talked about that before. If you're willing to not have a warranty, if you're willing to take a risk, if you're willing to just deal with the 30 days that Amazon gives you, then yeah, this amp might be okay. But SKAR Audio, Down for Sound, a lot of these other companies, you're paying a little bit more money because you actually get a warranty. You get somebody there to support you if you have a problem. So it's up to you whether you want to go super cheap for the money. It's hard to beat an amp like this if you don't have enough money. Just make sure you have enough electrical to run it. Thanks as always for watching. Until next time, Big D, I'm out of here. Double Rock 2K. Can it do 0.8 certified? I don't know. We're going to find out together. Here we go. 40 hertz. 0.8 ohms. 2,578 watts at 14.36. Yo. What about some 0.8 dynamic for the double rock? Let's try it, 40 hertz. See if it goes into protect. $3,382 watts at 14.7.